I was so depressed for a little while there that I even stopped getting out of bed for a good number of days. How is it possible that I ended up here? Me, that girl who had made her dreams come true and freaking ridden a bike across India, how did that girl end up here?
I was trying to earn the love of people who did not know how to love me for who I am. Because of that, I lost myself for a little while. I lost my way for a little while, and here I am again, quite aware of who I am and what I'm capable of and what I've done. I don't need to be loved by anybody who doesn't understand me and can't love me for who I really am, because I love myself whole freaking heartedly. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna live life and have fun and be fearless again. I was fearless, and that's what made me me, because fear is what keeps you from anything you want, and so I have to be fearless to be me.
Wow. This is me falling into a realization. It's like I was trying to prove myself to people, and it's just watching myself go through this sort of realization, this coming out of my shell and recording myself driving and like the clothes I'm wearing that I would have been self-conscious about because it's not good enough for somebody who's apparently being, known by others. My hair is all over the place, and I was just like, I couldn't care less. Like, I'm just driving. Like, I've really, like, in this video just shown up, and I love that. And I love what I said. Like, and I've been living that since. It's been such a journey for me to get here, especially after fame. But the thing about my life was that before fame, um, I had done a lot of personal work to be able to be myself in some way, but it wasn't a full way. There was still like a division in my life, like the part of my life that wasn't working and that was sort of constantly holding me back and being a hindrance. And then this other part of my life that I was exploring about myself and trying things and finding success and, you know, and then after fame, those two worlds collided, and I couldn't sustain what I had learned for myself because it crashed against this other world that had always tried to bring me down. I've spent the last 20 years a little bit lost and a little bit quite alone, actually, not a little bit, quite alone. Um, and I had to really learn what that meant for myself in my own mind. Why was I feeling like that? What is it that I ended up doing? um what does it mean? Like, I was trying to prove myself. What does that mean? How was I showing up in the world, in my life, through that perspective, through that lens, and really observing myself in my everyday, and then tying that understanding back to my whole life. It's like, oh, and like when I was younger, I would say that, like, yeah, I'm not trying to prove myself to anybody. Like, who am I proving? But I hadn't really embodied the learning. I'm only just in the last few years, ever since the pandemic, really, which is where like life crashed fully, or just before the pandemic. But the pandemic was a container in which the world was stopped. It was the most beautiful gift from God to me. I know the world was in chaos, and a lot of people had a lot of very, very hard experiences, and a lot of people left this planet in the process. And I'm not taking away from any of that. In my life journey on this planet, that time where I was confined in this little box, this apartment, this beautiful apartment, for that time to really break down and find myself again. It was the most valuable gift for me that I've ever received in my whole life. It was a privilege for me to be able to break down in the privacy of my own little box while the world is shut and nobody could see me. I was just like, completely breaking down. My psyche was breaking down, my ego was breaking down, my concept of reality and identity, and what's right, what's wrong, what I've done before, what's value, what's not, what I need to do in the future. All of that just broke down completely, and I went into deep depression. What brought me out of that depression was really this like voice from within, this like urge that was just like, how is it possible that I ended up here. Me, that girl who had figured out how to create a good life for herself in spite of the trauma within which she had grown up and was still in. How me, that girl who had made her dreams come true and freaking ridden a bike across India for years, how did that girl end up here? How did that girl who became so fucking famous that people were inspired by her, women started riding bikes on the streets that she had never seen before when she was riding? How is that girl ending up in my situation, my place here? How did I get here? That voice finally is just like, okay, it was enough for me to get out of bed. Like I was so depressed for a little while there that I even stopped getting out of bed for a good number of days put together. Like, I was just like a zombie walking around in the house, just eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping and eating and sleeping. And that's it. Not wanting to get out of bed, just thinking suicidal thoughts because it was easier for me to just think, okay, fine, I guess fucked my life up. No going back from here. I'm just gonna, maybe I should like start fantasizing about how I'm gonna end it. I don't want to be here anymore. I just want to end it. And it's when I got to that space, that really dark space, it just hit me. It's just like, how the fuck did I get here? And then I started getting angry. And that anger was so good because it started creating movement through my body. It started creating energy through my body, which I had lost completely when I was depressed. And that energy made me jump out of bed. I say jump out of bed because I can jump out of bed now, but at the time it was more like, fine. I'm gonna get out of bed. And so I rolled out of bed. The only thing I could do in that situation back then was I said, okay, fine. I need to do something. I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out. I had been laid off by then. My savings were running low. I had no way of getting a new job because I'd applied for like hundreds of jobs and gotten only rejections or just complete radio silence. I had no money left. I had no prospects. I was in a whole new country with no connections or none that I thought were going to help. And I had completely lost touch with everything that I'd ever known while I was growing up in India. It was like I was completely isolated and alone and scared of like how am I going to survive? I can laugh about it now because I'm so far away from that feeling. But in that feeling, and if you are in that space right now and you're watching me, please know that I'm not taking this lightly. I'm only being able to feel light about it now that I've moved so far away from that place. But when you're in that place, you have to know that you can rely on yourself to get yourself out of bed and just do that. Just that much. And every day it'll get better. Every day it'll get better. For me, that day when I first got out of bed was probably 4 years ago now. It's the end of 2024, right? So at the beginning of 2021 is when I had that anger run through me. It's like, how the fuck did I get here? And the only thing I could do is put my shoes on and go out for a walk. I don't care if I look like a homeless person or some depressed, crazy person because I haven't showered in so long and I stink and my clothes are all shabby and my hair looks like it's matted like a crow's nest. I don't care what anybody thinks about me or says or whatever. Like, that's where I was. I'm going to put my shoes on and go out for a walk because I really needed to do something to feel alive again. And I did that. And all I could manage was going around the block. That day, the first day I did that was I went around the block and that was it. And I came home and I was like, all right, I guess nobody pointed at me and laughed. That's a victory. That helped me to do that again. It gave me the energy and the motivation to do it again. It's like, all right, this feels better than thinking about death. And I did it another day, and I did it another day, and I started walking more and more every day. And then very soon, the energy returned in my body. And in a few weeks, I was kind of like, I'm going to shower every day. I'm going to put my clothes on. And that's all I did. I put my shoes on, I put my clothes on, and I went out for a walk. And then by the time I would come back, I would be like tired, but energized and alive. And then I would come home and I would meditate more. And then I would go to bed and I would wake up and I would meditate and walk and meditate. And That's what I did for like 6 more months before I finally broke through, before I finally surrendered and I said, okay, fine, universe. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to get myself out of this. I don't know how to fix this. Show me what I'm supposed to do and I'll do it. Just show me because I can't figure this one out.